Welcome back to the show, everybody. Rosie Rios, Ripple advisor, points to the U.S. Treasury. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content. $1.04 trillion market cap for crypto. We're up 0.4%. Good afternoon. Bitcoin, 20,600 plus. Ethereum, 1,500 plus. XRP, 46 cents, ladies and gentlemen, up 4.4% on the 7-day. Careful what you call progress. Sign up for this free ProCoin newsletter. I will be participating in it, and I believe digital asset investors also going to be participating in it. You're going to want it. It is the Drudge Report of crypto. Do not mess around. Sign up for this. Tell them I said come on in. And if you want to find out what I'm doing, where I'm at, all the different platforms I'm on, click on the link in my description right here. And I'll go here really quickly here so you can see it. Click that link and you can find out every place that I'm at. And that is where you want to do it. So make sure you click the link. Join that newsletter. Link underneath the video. Elon Musk says he'll be digging into Twitter shadow ban claims today. Well, I tell you what, I noticed today that there was a lot of blocked things that I had that I saw unblock, and I had to reblock some of that stuff. So it almost seems like we're starting from kind of a clean slate, kind of let everybody go out of jail and then just block them again if it's not what you need. So eyes open out here, I can tell you that. Just in, Binance to help Elon Musk with crypto payments on Twitter after investing $500 million in the Twitter takeover deal. Binance said it is now exploring blockchain integration on the platform in a potential sign of introducing crypto payments. Now, I want to run this really quickly, just very quickly. Let me run this here. Elon Musk has bought Twitter. Elon Musk has got all the satellites from Starlink up floating around the earth here. Not going to be able to take and turn the internet off. So if they shut down the rest of the internet, the Twitter platform's open. It's going to have uninterrupted access. People will be able to communicate, find out what's going on. And not too long from now, it looks like it's going to have a payment system attached to it as well. Watch out, banks. Russia's calling for a new independent financial platform for international settlements. Do you still not think gold is going to play a vital role in the global financial system in the years ahead? Yes, this is where I do remind you of my sponsor, Glint, because gold is God's money and I use it. And I encourage you to know, you click the link, get the debit card, MasterCard debit card, put physically allocated gold on it, which you can receive if you choose. Start spending it, you won't stop. That's what happens, and it feels good. This is Rosie Rios. Shout out to Darren Moore. I want you to hear this clip of Rosie Rios talking about where things are in the state of digital assets and crypto and how she references the National Economic Council, but then goes on to talk about Janet Yellen and the Treasury, I believe referencing what we've talked about on this channel for over 2 years. Since 2019 even. Right? Yeah, 2019. Yeah. FSOC.
I don't think it's going to happen in a vacuum. I honestly believe that they are going to rely on Congress.
Here we go.
Executive order directing all the regulators to submit their own white papers on what they think about digital assets. So he didn't name one area at all in terms of being in charge of this at all. In fact, I think it's actually the NSC and the NEC, the National Security Council and the National Economic Council, who are kind of jointly taking the lead on this. But he didn't name the SEC as the lead. He certainly didn't name the CFTC. They're all submitting their research. And I'm hoping that once it is if it is the NEC and the NSC who's leading these efforts, that as these working groups really formulate, hopefully, what could be good, hearty, constructive recommendations, those guardrails that I'm talking about, And then again, that would hopefully mean that maybe the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, will take the lead in thinking how that kind of makes its way through. I don't think it's going to happen in a vacuum. I honestly believe that they are going to rely on Congress to take the lead in forming legislation. It's already happening, right? You're seeing it. Although, is it happening in an informed way? Is Congress making these proposals with the information that they need from the executive branch to move forward? And I think it takes so long to do legislation. So perhaps that is kind of a window of opportunity where some of these proposals, both from the executive level and from the legislative level, can come together. So I do think by the end of the year is the timing for when these white papers are supposed to be submitted, unless that's going to change. And then I do think that Congress, along with the president and his team, will work through 2023, kind of figuring out perhaps what those legislative proposals should look like. Executive.
That I have to be honest. I'm going to give my summation of what I just took from that. What I took from that is that we're going to see Congress act after we see, hopefully, Janet Yellen and the Treasury and FSOC take action. And that's where they come in, and they can do things like systemically important designations. Remind you that FSOC was created after the Dodd-Frank Act, which was architected, that's right, the Dodd-Frank Act and FSOC architected by former Ripple advisor Michael S. Barr, who is now the VP of the Federal Board of Governors. I'm sure it's nothing. I got to pull a clip here. 1 second. And this is a clip of Elizabeth Warren that we covered back in the summer, I believe it was, urging FSOC to take action before things become systemically important, and doing it in a very condescending way. I don't mind telling you. Let me cue this up for us. 1 second here.
Thanks.
Hold on. You're going to want every bit of it.
See, the CFTC and the banking regulators are issuing guidance carefully about how banks should
I understand about the other regulators. I'm asking about FSOC because I don't want monitoring to be a way to just avoid doing your job. In your testimony before the House Financial Services last week, you suggested that FSOC should not and would not act ahead of Congress. That's something the crypto industry might find comforting, but it is not consistent with FSOC's mission. Did you misstate something last week?
So what I intended to say, I did see that, is FSOC has a responsibility to look at the tools it has.
Well, not just to look, but to use.
They can apply. And the situation is developing very quickly. And so how different tools would apply is a bit difficult to prejudge how they would be used.
Okay, but you are willing to use them ahead of Congress?
If that is the case and it is assessed that they are a systemic risk that needs to be addressed.
Well, not that they are a systemic risk. Remember what it says on the website, before that risk has reached fruition. I worry that you're approaching the crypto market with blinders on. You talk a lot about the benefits of stable coins, benefits that have been promised for years and that have still not materialized. And all the while, you are not talking about the risks that are flashing bright red in our faces here. Congress needs to put guardrails around crypto, and I'm writing a bill to do just that. But there's no reason to delay. Pointing a finger at Congress does not give you or FSOC the right to ignore your current statutory responsibilities. Thank you.
I think, again, I show that to show that we're on top of this thing. Rosie Rios is suggesting the same approach that we've been thinking is a practical line of how we get to where we want to go, defining the space. It's getting very, very interesting. I played you the clip of Michelle Bond when she was at Ripple in 2019 and talked about how they look to the FCA and the UK for guidance when it comes to crypto regulation.
What kind of jurisdictions around the world can the U.S. look to as a positive example?
I think one of the greatest ones is probably the UK FCA.
And there you have that. You know, when I think of all of this moment we're in now and how we watched and reported on these things as they happened then, even as to last summer and Elizabeth Warren grilling FSOC and the Treasury, Nellie Liang, the undersecretary to Janet Yellen. You know, it's all taking shape here. It really is. The executive order. I would imagine the Treasury comes in and makes decisions on stable coins and other utility payment tokens that affect finances and the financial system. That makes sense. And then I would expect Congress to come in and at some point thereafter clean up the rest of the space and give some kind of legislation that hopefully doesn't stifle innovation. All of that really brings me to understanding where the case is. And the fact that at this moment where the case is at the beginning of the end, Ripple reaches for the first time below 50% of the total outstanding supply of XRP in escrow. For the first time, it's below 50%, meaning there's more out in the world than there is in here. However, but don't be fooled by the idea and understanding, because they also tell us here, if you come down here, if you want to see it, as has been the case since 2019 Q4, no programmatic sales have been conducted and has no plans to do so going forward. Programmatic sales are sales to secondary market exchanges that do not participate in on-demand liquidity, which is for payments. Ripple has continued to sell XRP only in connection with ODL transactions. ODL volumes have ramped up as Ripple's ODL business has expanded. We know Jed McCaleb sold out of his 9 billion XRP, which is, I believe, is where a good portion of that liquid float could be coming from, outstanding here on the exchanges. Some people believe that ODL partners are selling XRP to exchanges. That may be the case. I don't know the answer, but what I can tell you is I don't know why that would be, because Ripple also remarks down here, as they have been doing, Ripple has been a buyer of XRP in the secondary market, which is the exchanges that are not participating in on-demand liquidity, and expects to continue to undertake purchase as on-demand liquidity continues to gain global momentum. Telling me from that sentence, Ripple is buying it on the market and exchanges that is loose for retail and redirecting it into on-demand liquidity, because they just told us up here that on-demand liquidity is growing. We also know it's growing in the way it's being used from now, not just individual payments, but such as Treasury and bulk payments right here. I don't know how this case comes out. Now, you guys know how I want it to come out. I want XRP to be a currency, and we all go back in the very least a commodity, right? But the reality is I don't know the answer how it comes out. But what I do know is this. If there is a decision made that affects the way XRP can be or cannot be relisted, and more importantly, if it's not relisted in the same way or at all, then what we're looking here is that Ripple realizes at some point, if that be the case, we're speculating, right? If that be the case, then Ripple realizes there isn't going to be any more, and they're slowly buying it back off the retail market, which was an important liquid market in the early days for this asset. But maybe it's time for them to pivot now. You know, there's a phrase that's used all the time called step change. Naveen Gupta used it just a couple months ago, and we're going to pull that up and look at that very quickly.
It's June 2022. if we speak again, let's say at the end of the calendar year or the early next year, what will have changed for you?
So for us, the scale would have continued, right? So in terms of things that we talked about, 8x growth, 15 billion, you would see a much bigger number at the end of the year because we are growing very, very fast. You would find a lot more nodes on the network. And what I want to say is normally though the growth on the nodes on the network may be incremental, but their effect is step change because after a while you achieve critical mass or escape velocity, and then it essentially moves together very, very quickly, right? So both are these two things that I'm very excited about. And then when we should be able to talk, I should be able to cite examples and take you through how that journey has been.
Very exciting. And when he talked about that step change and escape velocity, the addition of nodes, it is extremely exciting to me. When I think about the understanding that Ripple is buying XRP off the secondary market and refunneling it back into on-demand liquidity because that's gaining momentum, which is fantastic. Wouldn't it be like really, throwing water in someone's face, or just, almost like as you're trying to bail out the boat, somebody else is throwing water back in? If Ripple on-demand liquidity partners are like dumping XRP as Ripple buys it back, something about that doesn't make sense to me. Especially when we understand that Ripple has gotten into leasing it. These are all very important things. But when I think about step change, I think about where we may be going. Then I got wondering, I had never heard the term. What does step change mean? Well, step change is a sudden or major change in the way that something happens or the way that someone behaves. So I have to wonder, is in fact what Naveen Gupta talking about, and he knows what he's saying, I believe, when he chooses his word like step change, hinting to the fact that by the end of the year or sometime next year, we're going to see a sudden major change in the way something like Ripple or maybe XRP even behaves. And a good old-fashioned flip of the switch, maybe?
Users. Crypto is critical to creating a more inclusive, equitable, and efficient global financial system. Let me give you one example. A really good example, I think, is the UK, which has not only established a clear framework for crypto, but has an active innovation sandbox overseen by their national regulator, the FCA, and regularly interacts with industry for future regulation. That conversation is helping the UK be a leader in the market. We started building RippleNet with the thesis that crypto liquidity would eventually be able to support robust global payments, large payments. RippleNet was designed so that customers seeing the benefits of our fiat-based network could flip the switch to ODL once the market was mature enough. And this is exactly what's happening.
You have to wonder, flip the switch, step change, all of these things. At some point, I believe, just as we've seen in the history of something like an Amazon or a Google or what have you, there is a tipping point where you will see a step change or a flip of the switch. And I believe it has a lot to do with the clarity of this case and the asset XRP. That's going to do it for me. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.